Welcome to the third chapter of the series. This time I will show you the defensive shape of the experiment against the PSG team in the Champions League. You see here that the last starting 11 is a 4-4-1-1 because after that game I played in the last video I have holidayed until the PSG match day, as it's not something to be competitive, but just to show what happens with the tactics. And we saw the attacking formation in the previous video. Today we will see the defensive shape in this video, and that's it, unless I decide to make a fourth video with something like a team that is edited somehow, or perhaps I find a team with some characteristical players to use the offensive version to see if we catch a hint of whether the offensive version can or can't work in this game. So this is the formation. The PSG was playing the last match 4-5-1, and we will begin to fill the ranks. Muslera is the starting goalkeeper. One of the consequences of holidaying until now is that there are several key players that are very low on match fitness, but it's not very important since it's just saying. But then again, it makes not much sense to have waited a little after a pre-season to get a little familiarity with the tactics. I will come back when I've set the starting 11. So this is the starting 11. I have left Didier Drogba in the bench, though I could have tested and saw what happens with him in the shadow striker role, which I will with a sub in the second half, unless I forget to do that. No team instructions, I should have probably used something there, but drop there, drop deeper. No, I will not make any instructions from the start, so this will be the team and the tactic. I think the highlight mode is set in extended, indeed, as I thought. Very fast wingers, which makes me tempt to use close down ROIs, but tight marking never, which is something that usually works well for me. And indeed, I will do that. And that's all the position instructions I will be using. I will let the assistant do that. And let's start match. The first thing you will notice if we watch an attack by PSG will be that the two men up front will drop quite deep and help somewhat in the defense, more or less like the strikers in the Atletico de Madrid do in the real football. You see there how deep they are, and how they go to cover the pass lines and to even close down their midfielder. They're an attack with passes that are on the short side and a pace that has been somewhat lively, but without any kind of hurry. That was a quite poor attempt at goal. I have not set any kind of set pieces instructions, neither in this formation nor the attacking one. You see the defense turning towards the side where the ball is, with the center backs running right of the middle more or less, leaving a big gap between the left center back and the left back, which was almost exploited by their right winger. One thing that I could do to help that perhaps will be and to make it harder for them to find the inside of the fullback could be to set the fullback to stay narrower. You can see there Snyder dropped all the way back and helped defend the midfielder, but still they have found the striker. Because the left centre back has abandoned Ibrahimovic when the other centre back was marking the other guy, and their two centre backs abandoned their main task of marking Ibrahimovic and left him alone to make a 3 versus 1 on their probably left winger. I didn't see who that was, and didn't even cover the passing line to Ibrahimovic. Not sure the right pronunciation of Ibrahimovic, but I will do that. The name is likely Croatian or Serbian, and the H is pronounced like more or less in English, and that final C is like a T S. In the fullbacks, I've used the centre backs that can play in the sides because the other fullbacks, both Alex Teles and Ebue, are the offensive kind of fullback and not the kind that is needed by this tactic. I will set now some instructions, exploit the flanks, hit early crosses, and higher tempo, and see what happens with that. And goal from set pieces. I think I will add also the instructions to work the ball into the box. There. Statistically wise, we are more or less level in shots, so we have the better on target, but they have more of the ball. Then again, this formation is not meant to keep much of the ball, and Solak or Solek or whatever is the pronunciation of that Turkish name as just a 6.5. No, to them, these two I will tell they have not been good. And Ibrahimovic, I will set to mark. Otherwise, I will leave the tight marking unchecked because I'm not sure whether to tight mark him always or never. Otherwise, because he's the lone striker, we have two centre backs against him, so it shouldn't be extremely dangerous to set him to the tight marking. Then again, he's very fast, even if his acceleration is not the greatest. And that makes me a little worried about his pace. And now is when I will put in Didier Drogba as shadow striker. And as far as I know, there is no way to set the team other than by individual instructions going player by player to send the ball to him as if he were a target man. I will also sub the left winger by this Gilmath, who is very poor defensively, very low positioning, and mark as well as marking and tackling, but he's very fast. And I will change his role and duty to that. The wingers and the two advanced midfielders are almost in a line, so this formation there looks as a 4-2-4. Snyder closed down their centre back, then the deeper central midfielder, and they keep dropping, especially Snyder. I thought that was going into goal, and Haliovic also was dropping. I think the guy is after the L and not the other way, so Haliovic. This is Drogba. Yes, he's also dropped, but from the two matches that I played, he uses not to drop as much as Haliovic, who is by naturally by natural position an advanced midfielder. Yes, Drogba being naturally a striker doesn't drop as deep. That was almost an assist by Drogba, but there was not luck. I think it's the Drogba into box. So play, no play or defense, no. Pump fuck ball into box. I will try to see with the instructions I can get the team to play more or less as if Drogba was set as a, a target man. Wesley Snyder is injured, so let's see what is in the 50s. That's probably a bad injury, so I will look to make a substitution, and there is no substitutions to be made that are equivalent to Wesley Snyder. Inan is creative, so I will put him there, and Kurtulus there as defensive midfielder because he's not actually he can play as register. So that will be the change. I don't think Inan can play up there. So in the advanced midfielder now we will play the last quarter of an hour with two players whose familiarity in the position is more red. That was offside, and this time with a normal back four composed by centre backs and full backs. The referee saw it and called the offside. With this formation, it is not rare to see the offside code in the match during the highlights. Though, as I told you the last video with the other formation, uh, offsides can still be called for as showed by the full match the full match that I watched. Regarding the defensive line, everything is generally pretty standard and nothing to comment a lot of things about. And now we are left with 10 men and in an and in the end things return to not having more, well, no, only one with right familiarity with the position. Normally in that situation with 10 men I would put two strikers, two midfielders, one defensive midfielder, exploit the center and go all attacking, and I'd do well. So I will do that and see what happens like this. Not any hope of getting any goal like this in this situation and with that little time left. And I think I'm going to be even lucky if we don't concede. And so far we haven't conceded. Well, there weren't too many highlights in this half, but in the end we can see that in both formations we achieve two kinds of compression of the field. In this defensive, we achieve it because strikers, the would-be strikers, drop very deep and help to in the defense, marking the opposition's midfielders. Whereas in the other formation, the would be centre backs and would be full backs run very high up the pitch. The issue with the offensive formation is, as I told you, the very exaggerated tendency of the referees to not see the offsides and concede a lot of illegal goals against your side, as well as the tendency of the defensive midfielders that is much lesser with half backs instead of anchormen to be a little higher up the pitch than the wing backs during the defensive phase, making in that way uh, an space between them and the line of the wing backs that is very easily exploitable by the position, and therefore those defensive midfielders need to be extremely fast, and especially they need to be good in acceleration. Fast without acceleration is not going to help much. In this case, in the defensive version, with the compression being made by the would-be strikers dropping deep, there is not really any clear issue. In the first game, in the friendly that I played against PSG and that crashed, and I had to reply to get a one for the kid. In the first game, I won 2-0 with 4 shots, 4 of them on target. They had the dominance because I didn't want to bar with that formation. In the next match that Arsenal won in the last minutes, they didn't have as much dominance as PSG had in either of the other 2 matches, the crashed and the one that didn't crash. And the team created a good deal of chances. So it is this actually a formation that I am convinced is very well capable of working. We have gone away in this match with a draw that could have been a win if the left centre back, who I don't know who was, I think it was Aurelian Setiu. Yes, Setiu was the centre back who made the mistake of abandoning the marking of Ibrahimovic to mark their other player that was already being marked by both San and Burdiso. We've got 10 shots on target against their 18. A third of both have been from long shots. I would have expected that with that formation, they might have been forced to make more proportion of long shots. Perhaps the shots that were missing from to get that result was to play narrower and to drop deeper, and perhaps add stand-off players, stand-off opposition. But I didn't. Probably with those instructions, the closing down of the centre backs would not have been high enough for them to go marking Cavani. I think it was Cavani, maybe it was someone else, and leaving Ibrahimovic alone. Then perhaps PSG would have not scored and would have had a lot more of shots from long range. And that will be all for today, possibly all for the series. Like, comment, and subscribe if you feel like it. Don't do either of them if you don't feel like that. And dislike if you feel this deserves a dislike. Goodbye until the next video. Thanks for watching.